What's up, Heat Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Miami Heat Roundtable. My name is Amir. We got Trent here. He's from the Miami Heat Network, and we got
Most hated.
Mel from the Miami Heat Zone. And we have a special guest today again. This time we got my cousin Darian. He is a Clipper fan, so the Miami Heat just lost to the Clippers 103-95 in a horrible game, in my opinion. I mean, it was kind of close at points, but man, this team is struggling right now. So we'll get into that. But hey, Darian, do you want to introduce yourself real quick to the audience?
Sure. Thanks for having me on, guys. My name is Darian, but I'm a LA sports fan from LA. My favorite team is the Clippers, though. When I first got into basketball, it was right after Shaq had left, and the Lakers weren't very appealing at the time. We had a pretty good squad. Been a fan ever since. Have season tickets this year for the first time, and make LA sports and Clipper content after basically every game. Lakers as well, but I don't root for them. And then in the NBA playoffs, I make content on every single team, like just basically talking about every single game. And I'm big on basketball history. So you can find me on Dime Dropper on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, and on Twitter and Instagram, Dime Dropper Pod, but mainly on Twitter. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this game. It's always a challenge when you play Miami. They're going to throw some different stuff at us. So it was good. Nice to see Jimmy Butler and Kawhi going at it. And obviously a great win for us.
Yes, it looks like.
Wow, my theme song's playing in the back. Wow. I love it.
Trying to plug his YouTube channel. You're also the host of Locked On Clippers too, which is
yes, I always forget about that. I am the host of Locked On Clippers.
Yes, that's also pretty cool. So, what was not pretty cool was this game and Kawhi Leonard busting our ass and showing that he, when he's healthy, is a top. I don't know. I don't want to say 3, maybe 5, 6. Still, he's now like a top 5 player again. It seems like when he's healthy, and he showed that on both ends of the floor tonight, especially that third quarter. He was busting our ass. It was close, tied at halftime. I took some notes. We can talk about the first half, second half, of course. But in the third quarter specifically, dude, that guy had like 10 points. He had a couple three-pointers, nice contested three-pointers. But then on the defensive end, he blocked Jimmy Butler. He got a couple strips, was in the passing lanes, deflecting the ball. He was all over the place, man. And, Jimmy, again, not aggressive, right? You can even hear, was it JJ Redick announcing tonight that like this offense goes when Jimmy goes, and he didn't go tonight, right? Like he had 21 points, but his stats were padded towards the end. So I just want to get your guys' feelings. Darian, we'll start with you from the Clipper perspective. Just what are your thoughts on the game? What are your thoughts on the Heat currently as well?
Thoughts on the game were that it was a good defensive game. Both teams are strong. I was pretty impressed with your starting lineup defensively. We already know how good Bam is on that end, but yeah, Josh Richardson out there, Jimmy, and then Highsmith. I thought they did a pretty good job in the beginning. Went to different forms of like matchup zone. At one point, it looked like you had like a 1-1-3 kind of setup going on, which is really weird. And it kind of threw us for a loop for a while. But I think we just have more offensive talent than you. Defensively, maybe not as much, but we did get Zubats back in this game after a pretty long absence, his longest absence of his career. Although he came back a little earlier than I expected. But I think the quality just ended up showing out at the end. I think that Rozier missed a lot of really good looks. Obviously, you're missing Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, so that definitely hurts the offense a bit. But, it wasn't even a pretty game for us. Paul George shot terribly. Russ was horrendous, missed a dunk, missed layups. But James Harden and Kawhi really pulled through, and I thought it was kind of poetic in a way that James Harden played so well in front of Riley. Even though I'm very pro, before James Harden came to the Clippers, like I'm very pro Riley and very anti Harden. But you know how it goes with Harden. It's always about the playoffs for him. In the regular season, he does this demon stuff every team he goes to. So he was really great tonight. And then Kawhi just showed he was the best player on the floor. I'm a big Jimmy Butler fan, like way bigger on Jimmy Butler than most people around the league that aren't Heat fans. But it's kind of a shame that, Jimmy and Kawhi came to their new teams at the same time. And all of the last 5 years in the playoffs, it's been playoff Jimmy, Heat in the finals twice, conference finals 3 times. And Kawhi hasn't been able to even stay healthy really for us. But we both, if anybody disagrees here, I'd be shocked. Kawhi's better than him. Like Kawhi, and he always performs in the playoffs outside of the bubble. He just can't stay healthy. But this season, we're starting to see something different. And it feels like we have the best player like every single night. Seriously. Jokic is really the only one that consistently challenges that. And it's been amazing. I mean, we're one of the hottest teams in the league. I don't even think the Heat played that bad. But as far as my thoughts on the Heat, I want to hear your guys' first, and then I'll respond. But yeah, very solid win in the end. We're 5-1 on this Grammy road trip. There are not many teams in the league playing better than us. I really don't think there's a single team in the league that's been better than us the last 2 months.
No, not since December, man. You guys have been the hottest team ever since that 0-5 start, which I'm sure I texted you at least once or twice laughing, right? Because we both hate James Harden, and I wasn't trying to rub it into you because you're family, obviously, but we just hate Harden so much. But ever since that, I don't even know what the record is, but like you guys have just definitely been the hottest team since December for sure.
30-8 since then.
30-8. Okay, that's ridiculous. So
yeah.
Trent, let us know. Trent, he's been talking on these episodes, saying he's a Russell Westbrook fan, always has been, roots for the Clippers in the West. Obviously, he's not going to root for them over the Heat, but he also wants Russ to win a ring eventually. But what were your thoughts on watching, I guess, both your teams tonight?
My thoughts was one team is better than the other team, and it's obvious. That's my thoughts. First rip. Don't even need to watch the game. I watched the game, but I already knew this game, and I've been saying it since it was on the schedule that we was going to lose this game. Amir knows, probably Martell knows. I said we was going to lose this game. Even with the Clippers, I wouldn't even say struggling defensively, but not playing as the best the last couple games in the stretch. And Paul George is not playing his best basketball lately just because he's been dealing with that injury. Obviously, PG's not the same at the moment, but I still knew the Clippers were going to find a way to win just because of offensive talent. And that's what I've been telling for the Miami Heat to do for a while now. We need offensive talent. Even with Tyler, if Tyler played today, I still don't think we win this game. I just really don't. But and it just comes with front offices once again, right? You see what the Clippers front office did? They traded for James Harden. You see what Miami Heat front office did? They traded for Terry Rozier when we was favorites for all these other superstar players. It just comes with front office. Jimmy not being consistent in the sense of him being more aggressive. His stats look okay, but he had like 14 points in the fourth quarter at that. And like you said, they were stat padded. Like, you can't go out here, and Martell loves saying, load manage in these games. We need to start winning. We're 2-8 in the last 10 games. It's not going to get it done at all. And we're playing one of the best teams in the league in the Western Conference. I think they're one of the scariest teams in the league with Denver. Like, you just got to come out there. I will say they gave it to the Clippers. Like, they pause. They definitely gave it to the Clippers in the sense of they put them in the zone. And then the Clippers started to try to figure it out. They took Zubac in. And then they went offensively by putting Amir Coffey in or like a Norman Powell in just to put shooters around them and have James Harden facilitating. And Kawhi Leonard just started getting hot. And when he gets hot, you really can't stop him because look at the numbers just in the last 27 games. Dude shooting 58% from the field, 51% from the three-point line, and 91% from the free throw line. Like, that's just insane. And the fact that he's not really even in the conversation for MVP, at least like top 3, needs to be discussed about too because he's been healthy. He has been playing. But for the Heat side, the only positive thing I could say was Terry Rozier did miss a lot of easy shots that if he hits, maybe this game does get turned around. But you can see, Amir, that's the Terry Rozier that we all know playing for Charlotte. And that's why we want him starting along Duncan Robinson because he's going to get those shots. He's going to start getting more in rhythm. With him and Tyler, he's not in rhythm. He needs to feed all the other teammates and stuff like that. So we lost once again, and we need help.
Yeah. Martell, what are your thoughts on that game, man?
I mean, the game was pretty solid from, I would say, the first quarter to about the beginning of the third. I just think, like, it comes out to talent. You know what I mean? Like with this current NBA, you got to be able to put up at least 115 points, 110 points. The Clippers, they have so many weapons with Paul George, Kawhi. Russ, like, to me, is their secret weapon. Like, I know that, like, a lot of people like to bash him, but, Russ, he's a very talented guy, and he likes to get everybody involved. But it all comes down to talent, like, at the end of the day. I think that Jimmy and Bam, like, think about it. Our two best players can't really shoot threes like that. Can Jimmy hit it every now and then? Yeah. But can he hit it, like, at the level where the other superstars across the NBA can do it? No. You know what I mean? And plus, just the way that they get into their offense is very rough. This Miami Heat team can't score. For the past few years, we haven't really been able to score. We can't just all put it on Jimmy Butler and say, well, just have him go into Jimmy mode and, he's going to take us to the NBA Finals. That's, you know what I mean? Like, that all, year after year, he's going to get worn down. And you can clearly see he's not ready yet to even go full Jimmy mode. I would say maybe when we got like about 8 to 10 games left. But to be honest, because we're in the 8th spot, because we're losing all these games, we want him to start trying basketball now. But, it all comes down to roster construction and player development. We can't put our hope in all these undrafted guys when everyone else in the whole NBA has a lot more talent than us.
I will say Miami only hit 8 threes, 8 out of like 30 at the 3-point line, which is pretty bad. It's like 27%. And Clippers doubled that, shooting 86. But throughout the game, like the field goal percentage was damn near the same. 3-point percentage obviously was the difference. But the free throw line pretty much the same. Turnovers, you got 15-10. Assists pretty much the same. Rebounds, blocks, like it was a close game throughout. But you could just tell that the Clippers, even though if the Clippers will go down 5 points, you feel like, damn, like are we really gonna keep this lead for that long? Like you could just feel like the Clippers had the game the whole time, literally the whole game. Even during halftime, like when it was a tie game, I'm like, are we sure we're gonna win this game? Like it can get flipped any second, and that's what happened.
Yeah, we don't have enough of the offensive firepower. And I like noted in the fourth quarter, Norm had 14 points at like the 7-minute mark left in the quarter in the game. And he had 14 points, and no one on the Miami Heat had 14 points at all at that point. So Jimmy, I think Jay Rich, Caleb had 12, 11 points. And I was like, Norm Powell, who's sitting on the bench, is outscoring our team essentially, and he's like one of the X factors always. And not only did we allow him to get in that corner and shoot 3, or he shot more than 3, he made 3. He shot 5 wide open shots in the corner. He made 3 of them uncontested, like not even like a player within like 5 feet, which is just unacceptable in terms of rotations. That's horrible. And his corner spot is his money spot. He also can put the ball on the floor a little bit, and he can also get to the rack. He kind of reminds me of like a Bruce Brown kind of guy, probably better shooter. And that's like the type of player I think we need. We always talk about the small ball shit that like Spo loves that shit, and that's like one of our Achilles heels, which it kind of is because it's based on the small players that we have. I was looking at the box score. This is their starting lineup for the Clippers today, at least. Harden, Leonard, Paul George, that's a point guard, basically Harden's a shooting guard, but whatever. Then you have 2 small forwards. You have Terrence Mann, who's a shooting guard, small forward, and then Zoo, who's the 7-footer. They're playing small ball. They got Norm Powell coming off the bench, who's small. The only other big they have is Plumlee, right? And then they have Amir Coffey coming off the bench and Westbrook. Like, we always complain here about small ball. Our small team is not working, I think, right? Like, you guys are small, Dar. I thought you guys were bigger than this for sure. But that's one issue, which relates to the rebounding. If I'm looking at our stats, we're 24th in the league in rebounding. That's horrible. But we're also 27th in scoring. Our 3-point shooting trend, as you mentioned, has been so inconsistent, up and down, and it hasn't been consistent throughout the game. Like some of the games that we've got into the 40% ranges was after starting off horribly. And so we have issues starting the game and finishing the game, and that's not a good recipe for a team that wants to be a contender. We're 10th in 3-point percentage. We were number 1 when we were 8 games above 500. Like when we're actually doing well, like a top 3-4 seed in the East, we were number 1. And look, the trend is going down, and look what's happening right now. So small ball is an issue for us, but not for the entire league. So I don't know. Dar, what do you think about your team in small ball? Like, do you think that's an issue for the Heat possibly from what you saw today, like size? Or is it just the offensive, like we don't have anybody elite, like a D-Book, a KD, a Kawhi, a Paul George, if you will, like type of, Jason Tatum, superstar type of guy who's elite scorer?
I would say it's more so that because we're not, as you said, we're not a big team. Like we're not going to maul you inside. You know what I mean? I thought defensively you guys were pretty good. Like you did a pretty good job on our offense, keeping it in check. Let's see, how many points did we score? 103. Like that's for the Clipper offense recently, last couple of months. That's pretty good. But yeah, I do think there's a level of a ceiling on Jimmy Butler's scoring. But in the playoffs, we've seen him turn it up. You know what I'm saying? So I do think you guys definitely rely a little bit too much on Jimmy. But that being said, like Trent said, this like kind of load managing in the season that Miami, from whatever reason, national media gets no heat for at all, no pun intended. You, you know why? It's because everybody's like, oh, in the playoffs they do this. In the playoffs, Spo does this. So like everybody gives you the benefit of the doubt. When it doesn't work one year, and maybe that's this year, where you get knocked out in the first or second round, then all this like laziness essentially, or like a lack of a sense of urgency to really improve the team bites in the ass. Like we'll see where the fingers are pointed, but up until this last 10 game stretch, and that was it a 7-game losing streak you guys were on?
Yep.
Up until then, there was nothing that the Heat were doing that was surprising me, or I wasn't underwhelmed by them. If anything, I was like, man, they're even a little better than I thought they'd be, because Jaime Jaquez is having such a great first season. And Bam definitely, you kept texting me about Bam. Bam has made the leap. Bam is doing this. So I was like, okay. But after this losing streak, I'm not sure what to think. I still expect the Heat to finish in the top 6. They should. And now that Embiid's out, you can really climb to like the top 5. I don't think you'll catch New York and Cleveland in the regular season, even though I'm more afraid of Miami in the playoffs than either. I think you could get up to 5, but I don't know. I would love. I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to the Heat going forward, but I really think you got to make an effort to, when your guys can play, they got to try to play. And yeah, I mean, the Tyler Hero conversation is a tough one, because we all know he's more suited for that 6th man kind of role. And because of that big contract, you're going to have a hard time convincing him to do so, especially now with Rozier, who's like, I don't know. Who do you guys think is better?
That's a
It's
tough
close,
one.
right?
That's
I mean, sometimes like it's not even about who's better, but it's about fit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I think it's like.
But see, one is not clear cut better than the other, so it is about fit at that point. But Tyler Hero's getting paid so much, and he's drafted by the Heat, so I feel like he might have priority. I mean, what's the plan right now? To start both of them, and then Jimmy, Highsmith, and Bam? That's the lineup.
Yeah, Spo said he wasn't gonna change that lineup after during the 7-game losing streak and like after the 7-game losing streak. So I don't know, what impact do you think that makes, Trent? Like tinkering do you think it makes a big difference? Like, I mean, we've been all talking about Tyler and Duncan, swapping spots, but do you think that makes a big difference? Because he's not willing to like stagger. He needs to stagger them more, and like it seems like one needs to come off the bench. And does Tyler have priority because he's drafted by this team, he's been on this team? Like, will Terry take one for the team and be like, go cook off the bench, lead that second unit with Duncan, with Jaime, with Caleb, with whoever? I don't know. What do you think, Trent?
I would say this. This win would have went crazy just because of the fact that Tyler was out last minute, and if how Terry was playing, if he just hit 2 of those threes, it would have been a different story. Like, just think about it. Like, it is what it is. We lost. I know that. But if he hits 2 of those threes, Tyler loses. I mean, Tyler's not playing, and we come out with one of the biggest W's against one of the hottest teams. Like, this whole thing would have been like flipped. Like, we need to put Tyler to the bench. I don't think it helps our case now. We still struggled scoring. We still struggled shooting the 3 without Tyler. So it's like, with Tyler, we're still struggling. Without him, we're still struggling. So I don't think they're going to change the lineup anytime soon. I think we've been preaching it for a while now that we do. I feel like at this point, what do we really have to lose? Seriously, what do we have to lose? If we don't take the regular season so serious, which I'm going to ask Dime Dropper a question about this, why don't we just flip-flop it? Like, why don't we just try this? And why, like, I get it, Tyler makes more money and this and that, but we just traded for Terry Rozier. He came here to be a starter. He came here to help this team win a championship. Like, and if he comes off the bench, I guess it's fine, but it just needs to be Tyler. I mean, 93 and 49 speaks for itself. It's really just simple as that. But I want to ask a question to Dime Dropper in the sense of, you're a Clippers fan, and I've been watching the Clippers the last couple seasons, not my whole life, but ever since Russ got there. And one thing that I did notice was Ty Lue always kept bringing up, we need to start taking the regular season more serious. And so with the Clippers, you could tell that they came into this season taking the regular season more serious, and that's the reason why they're a top seed in the Western Conference. And honestly, they would easily been a first seed, but they had the James Harden thing. They had waited out. You lost 5 games. It is what it is. They've been playing the best. But for the Miami Heat, this is my question to you is, do you think the Miami Heat should start taking a route like how the Clippers did, in the sense of like taking the regular season serious and then heading into the playoffs? Because that's how you get chemistry, right? That's chemistry. And 2, better seeding, home court advantage. There's plenty of positives heading into that. You don't want to go into the playoffs with just being the 7th seed and like, okay, let's just be the underdog every single time. No, we don't want to do that. So do you think the Miami Heat should start taking the regular season more serious and, possibly be a top 3 seed, which they easily could,
No doubt, man. All the things you were saying, it's very relevant. Like, I've always said this on my shows that there's only 2 teams that have finished below the 3 seed that have ever won a ring. 69 Celtics, 95 Rockets. And they were both defending champs. And had one of them had Bill Russell, the other one had Hakeem. So, like, they've been there, done that. The teams that think that they can just finesse their way, like, by whatever seed we get, but no one wants to see us in the playoffs, like that kind of arrogance, like, if you finish below the 3, it doesn't pay off. I know. Here's the argument. It'll be like, oh, well, the Heat made the championship as this seed and this and that. Are we doing participation trophies or are we talking about winning the championship? Because when the Heat won the championship in 06, they were a 2 seed. When they won the championship in 2012, they were a 2 seed. In 2013, they were a 1 seed. So the proof is in the pudding every single time. Now, the question is, do you have, 95 Rockets?
Sorry to cut you off. This is why I love my cousin right here, because I was going to ask the panel this question. And, the Houston Rockets were number 6.
And they made a mid-season trade with Clyde Drexler. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not conventional to win 4 series on the road like that. I think Hakeem Olajuwon and that team deserve a lot more credit for that. To come back from 3-1 down in the second round and win 4 series on the road is insane. So that's an underrated all-time title run. But, man, you got to. Like, the question is, do the Heat have – you say they easily could, but do they have the talent in the regular season? Because Jimmy Butler, we know in a 16 game, he turns up a notch. And Eric Spoelstra can show off his coaching magic against a team when he can really game plan for them. But regular season, I think that's part of the reason we got James Harden, to have the talent. He's an all-time regular season guy. Like, he's every year, every team he goes to, regular season, he'll increase your floor, he'll raise your floor. So, but the main reason, bro, is Kawhi and Paul have been healthy. Like, I can't believe what's happening right now. They're really healthy after all these serious injuries. Now is the season, 5 years in, that they're getting the luck. And I'm keep knocking on wood because I kept saying it. I keep saying it, and they haven't gotten hurt yet. So if there's any year that we're going to go into the playoffs with momentum and a healthy Kawhi, I think it's this one, man. I mean, he looks great. He looks amazing out there. And then Harden is proving me wrong so far, although I never doubted our regular season. Like, we had the conversation, Amir. We had it about Harden. I knew regular season he was going to be good, but this good, I'm definitely surprised, and I think it was your boy Russ, his sacrifice to the bench. I was very impressed that he did that because coming from the Lakers, he didn't like the situation there at all. Like, I know he tried to buy into that bench role, but, like, let's be real. Like, he hated it there. He was acting very out of character, giving very unprofessional answers, and he just was moody and stuff. But here, he's all smiles. He's accepted it, and I think one thing I underestimated was the friendship, like the genuine friendship of Harden and Russ. Like, the fact that they wanted to play together a third time, even though they've fallen short together. But every time they have been good, their teams have been good. The fact that Russ was willing to bring him on, knowing that, Harden's going to take the ball away from you, bro, and be okay with this, I think that just shows, like, if we win the championship or even get to this conference finals again, Russell Westbrook, like, he really changed our season by agreeing to that. Whether he volunteered or not, like the story said, if Ty Lue said, Russ, we need you to go to the bench, the fact that he hasn't made a fuss about it, man, you cannot say enough about the professionalism of him at this season and the sacrifice. And if you listen to champions talk, they always say sacrifice is important to winning rings.
Yep. Tyler here, I hope you fucking listening to that. Sacrifice and take yourself to the bench. Now, what's it called? We could talk about Russell Westbrook because I want to talk about Russell Westbrook in a sense, right?
Look at that smile on his face, by the way. Trent's so happy.
That's what Russ does, man. He just uplifts the energy in the room.
I love it, man. I love it. But damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. I got distracted. What do y'all can go? I remember.
Westbrook, Harden and Westbrook playing again.
Okay. So
sacrifice and then
okay. Look, the Clippers, in a sense, right? Russ, he sacrificed his role. He went to the bench and stuff like that. The friendship, Russ, and if you look at the post game, I'm sure you do the post game, after the games and whatnot. What Russ said. And I love this. I love this when he was on OKC and whatever the case may be, right? They have a good bond. They have a good friendship with all their teammates. That's something Amir and Martell that I think the Miami Heat are missing. Remember in our last podcast, we talked about Tyler and Jimmy not having the greatest relationship? When a team loves each other, and I play basketball, Amir plays basketball, I'm not sure if you play basketball, Dime Dropper, but when you love playing with your guys, you go 10 times harder for them. You want to win for your guys. You want to win for yourself. You want to win for your coach because you have that love for him. When you don't really care for that coworker, because I work a 9 to 5, am I really going to go pick that up for that dude? I don't care for him. But when you have love for that dude, you're going to go all out. And so I think that's what the Miami Heat are missing. And hopefully they can find it again or whatever the case may be. But that's why the Clippers, another underrated aspect that no one's talking about, they have love for each other. And you can tell off the court, on the court, and they're laughing, dancing, doing all this other stuff. When you look at the Miami Heat's bench, they're just like this. Just ready to go home. So, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
So-
I mean,
I thought
he dropped out.
he'll come back in.
I was gonna say to that though, just to respond.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. I do play. But I also coach at a youth level now, and I have 3 teams, 2 rec league teams, and then 1 middle school team. One is 6th grade boys. The 2 middle school teams, I got one that's 11 and 12-year-olds, and one 13, 14, 15. Of all these 3 teams, the 13, 14, 15-year-olds are like the best one. But the other teams, like they all really seem like they like each other, and I'm trying to build the culture with that older team. But they legitimately just feel like they're playing for themselves, like to impress their parents. They're not trying to win for each other, because I drafted a team of kids that I like all of them, but they're not like friends. They're not in a friend group or anything. They go to different schools, and they haven't really put it together where, like, man, everybody on this team for a rec league team can dribble the ball and shoot. And that's not normal for a rec league, because you always know in the YMCA or the rec, you always had that 1 or 2 kids that their parents made them play. And they're like, I don't want to pass to this kid. I have this unique situation where I got a rec team where everybody can shoot and dribble. And they just kind of, they don't. One thing is big in basketball is you got to talk on D. Like you see it at every level. Even in pickup, you talk, call out screens. My kids, like, they don't, like, because they're like afraid to talk to each other because they're from different schools and stuff. Like, nah, like the teams that I've had the most success with playing and coaching, they like each other. And so I think that is definitely a relevant point you made.
Also, when you're comfortable, you communicate better. Communication, Bam was saying one thing was an issue, defense was an issue, all these things before they had their meeting. They had their freaking meeting and film session. Like, what does that even bullshit mean? Like, they had to say what was being said. Like, I don't know how I feel about all that stuff. But to your point, like,
that's fine though.
Yeah.
But think about it. This core has been together for too long for this whole chemistry thing not to work. If it's not going to work, then we need to break it up. We've been together way too long. You know what I'm saying? Like, how we've been together for almost 5 years. And same thing like with the whole Tyler Hero coming off the bench thing. If Spo can't get it to work, or if he doesn't want to come off the bench, then you tell him to come off the bench. That's simple. We shouldn't have to listen. If Manu Ginobili can come off the bench, then Tyler Hero can. But to be honest, we need to make it work, because we didn't give Tyler Hero $100 million to come off the bench. We gave him $100 million for him to actually play, be efficient. He thinks he's Devin Booker, but he's not. Can he? Maybe in the future. I just think he has too many holes in his game.
No way.
I just think that we need to figure it out now. He can't come off the bench, in my opinion, because we gave him $100 million for him to score. We gave him $100 million for him to be very efficient. Because the thing is, this Miami Heat team, we're not good enough to win without Jimmy Butler. And I think that's the biggest thing. If Jimmy Butler doesn't put up 25 to 30 points, this Miami Heat team cannot win a basketball game, unfortunately, because Tyler and Bam cannot carry this team. And then also, too, they did a poor job putting role players around Tyler and Bam for when Jimmy's out, or from when Jimmy wants. Because if Jimmy wants to coast, that's fine. But put role players around Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler that can help carry the team as well. It can't just be on Tyler and Bam.
I agree, man. I think, I just don't know. I don't know if this team's a contender right now. Obviously, right now we're not, right? Do you guys all agree with that? Like, are we, especially you, Dar, like a non-biased opinion, like, do we look like a contender at this point? Or do we look like we can turn it around and become a contender again? Let me ask you that. Because right now, obvious answer is we don't look like a contender. The Cavs, who are missing 2 of their best players for a month, have ran up in the rankings to the 3rd seed. The Knicks have made moves and they've done really well. Like, we haven't beat a single good team all year. Clippers lost. Suns, Knicks, Bucks, Celtics. Like, we haven't played Denver yet. They're going to bust our ass. Like, we haven't beat a single good team. We played the Sixers without Embiid. We beat them. Cool. They're going to be dropping like flies in that standings, right? We haven't had a signature win. So do you even think we're a contender at this point? Because, like, again, I don't want all the blame to go to Tyler because we all do that and we shit on him. But there's so many other issues. The way, as Martell said, the way this roster is constructed, the way Jimmy's Martell's my favorite term he said is Jimmy
load managing in a game.
In a game, not even just like sits out, but he load manages in the games and lets Bam and Tyler cook, and they're not. Like, I'm sorry, they both had their 2 good months, right? Tyler looked good, averaging 25 before he got hurt, and then Bam was looking good, averaging 23. But they're going back to, like, they're plateauing a little bit, right? To like what their ceiling seems to be, which is like totally fine. 20-point scorers, like Bam, obviously two-way player, so he's more valuable than Tyler. But
it's
Tyler,
the role players, though, because when you look at all of our chips that we won, we had a high level.
And that's what the Clippers have right now. They have role players that are stepping up and playing big. When Paul George goes out, who's stepping up? They put Amir Coffey in the starting lineup. And to be honest with you, the more I watch the Clippers, and if you're not a big NBA junkie and you don't know who Amir Coffey is, he does it both on both ends. Offensively, he's not known as a scorer, but he can consistently knock that corner 3 down, play some solid defense. Jimmy Butler tried to hit him with the 3-point foul at the end of the game. You ain't gonna get me. You ain't gonna get me. Like, I love Amir Coffey, but not about that. They got Brandon Boston coming off the bench, which no one talks about because he doesn't hit the rotation or anything like that. But whenever there's an injury or Paul George is not playing, he hits the rotation on the second unit. So the Clippers have players that they can just rotate in and out, and I think they found the perfect second unit. We're still struggling to find that. We're still struggling to find our starting lineup because we're switching from different injuries, of course, different power forwards. Like, it's super, super frustrating, and you can just see the difference between the two teams. And I think Spo is one of the best coaches in the league. But I will say this, right? Ty Lue, and this is to you, Dime Dropper, and you see this often. Russ plays bad. Ty Lue's all right. You're just gonna play 10 minutes today. That's fine. You're gonna play bad today. You played 15 minutes. But the difference is from the Lakers and the Clippers, he will go to the end of the bench and sit like this and don't talk to nobody. He played 15 minutes. He's still up trying to root for his teammates.
Right.
That's the difference just right there, right? But Spo, I don't know why he's not doing the same thing to our players. Why? Is it because our team's not deep enough just like the Clippers? Or is it Spo just doesn't want to hurt the Tyler Herro's feelings? What is it? Because I don't know. Or just any person on the team. I don't get it. I just don't.
Those are the complicated conversations when you have a player earning 30 mil. Like, these are NBA players. Like, they're so full of it. Like, they have to have a huge ego to get where they went and have the confidence. But those are tough conversations, man, especially with like the management that paid him that money. I wonder if Terry Rozier would be willing to go back to the bench like he was in Boston. But he was when he tasted that success in 2018, he was not a happy camper that next year. Like, he completely like threw the team under the bus that year after he left Boston. Because I was in Boston, I was in Massachusetts. I was going to school there for when Rozier was there, and he was really popular. Like, during that 2018 run, I was there. He was really popular. But the way it went when Kyrie came back, he was really dissatisfied with his role because it just went down so much, and he was complaining, and he wasn't that great. But yeah, I still think though there's hope for the Heat because you've shown it so many times that you can turn it on in the playoffs. I don't think anyone's going to fully count you out, but it would be nice to get some momentum going before the playoffs start. I think you can do that. I just think you need some health. The thing is, you just don't have enough talent that, like, when one big player is out, you just can't really replace them. And I think that's one of the biggest things that Harden has helped us with. But that being said, Paul George has missed 3 games. Like, that's insane. Like, Kawhi's missed 4. Like, that's why we're good. Wow. The health has been on our side.
That's it. 7 games combined. Hero 18. Bam. 13.
7 games combined.
Like, we're not even using excuse. The injury is not even an excuse anymore. We're healthy during the 7-game losing streak, like losing to or whatever our streak is. The last 10, you said, Tram, what, 2-8? Like,
yeah,
we're healthy. We're mainly healthy. So it's like, it's such a weird thing. Even when one player will go out, like when Jimmy was out, we went 5-2, like in a 7-game stretch without him. Like when Tyler was out for 18 games, we had a positive record, right? Like, it's kind of weird. In the playoffs, we can't sustain that. To your point, in the regular season, I think we are deep enough, but they don't like each other. Something's going on right now. We're shooting poorly. We're like in a funk, and that's detrimental right now to the regular season. Which I'm glad we brought this shit up because I was going to bring this up. We talked about it earlier about how we need to take the regular season series because not only is it important for seeding and obviously home court and shit, but it is a barometer of like how you can compete. Like obviously, and I love that you guys brought up the Houston Rockets because I was going to say, like, no teams that are the 7th, 8th seed win championships for a reason. They're not good enough. Like we're not in the same level as the Celtics or the Bucks even right now. Like I'm not scared of them necessarily going against them in the playoffs, but come on, realistically, can this team beat them? And let me ask you this, Dime, because do you think our big three, if they're healthy, is good enough? Even if we add another piece, like I don't know who we can add. I think we do need to make a trade. We all agree upon that. Like I don't know who we can get. A Kyle Kuzma, if you will, a Tyus Jones. I don't even know. Like it's not going to be like a superstar, right? So like will a move like that be good enough with this big three, do you think, for us to actually win? I'm happy we've made it to the finals, but we haven't won shit in 10 years since we had LeBron James and D Wade. So, and I'm tired of just getting that far without winning. I'm a Niner fan too, man. I've been tasting that Super Bowl opportunity for so goddamn long. That's even worse. That's a 30-year drought. But
you've won. You didn't see them win though with Steve Young and them.
30 years ago. Okay, sorry, you're a Clipper fan.
30? Really?
Yeah,
You didn't win in the 90s?
Yeah, 94 is 30 years ago. That's the last time the Niners won a Super Bowl, bro. So I'm saying they're similar to the Heat where they've made it to the Super Bowl in 12, 14, 19, and we just keep losing. This is like the Heat team. I'm not satisfied.
I can't believe it was 94. I thought it was the late 90s they got one.
No.
Wow.
This Heat is similar. This team is like this team where it's like it's not good enough just to get there at this point. So anyway, my question, are we good enough with this three? And then also like maybe first part, are we good enough as currently constructed? Or even if we get some sort of little piece that's not non-all-star, will that move us over the hump?
Oh, see, my question to you is, who is the three? I mean, who's the third guy? What big three? I see Bam and Jimmy and then a bunch of role players.
Trent loves that response right there, right? Not even counting Tyler as a big three. So yeah.
So that's the problem. Tyler's not a star. I don't think he's ever going to be a star. He's like a little bit better than Austin Reeves to me. Like he's a good scorer and like can make some plays and pick and roll off the bench. He can go off for 30 some nights. He's like a perfect. Like how I know he's not. It's hard to compare this, but like because he's not playing in this era and Tyler Hero has better stats than him. But like, how much better is Tyler Hero at basketball than Jamal Crawford was? Like, is he that much better than him?
No.
I mean, Lou Williams won Sixth Man of the Year twice for us, and he led our team to the playoffs in 2019. Tyler Hero is not even better than him. Martell mentioned if Manu can come off the bench, Tyler Hero can come off the bench. Manu Ginobili was a legit star. He was just in a stacked conference, and Popovich killed his stats, and he admitted it. And he was also injured a lot. But he was clearly, when you watched him play, he was almost always a positive. You know, it was never complaints, oh, Manu's shooting too much, like he's holding the ball too long. Like, not really. So my thing is, no, you're not. I still have my doubts about Jimmy Butler as the number one clear cut on a chip winning team. I think obviously he's shown he can get you there, but it's tough because when you played against the Lakers, like both years you went to the finals, I was confident you weren't winning because they had LeBron and AD.
Same.
And you had Jimmy. And I love Jimmy. And
it comes down to talent, man.
That's all it really comes up to. Like,
yeah,
it all comes down to talent because think about it. When you look across the NBA, there's no other superstar doing what Jimmy Butler is doing. But my confusion with the front office is if you're going to allow Jimmy Butler to do that, that's cool. Fine. You don't want him to play the 82 games, me either. But if he's going to play the 65, why are you putting undrafted players around Tyler and Bam and then telling them to win during the regular season? It just doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Put high-level role players around our best players to carry Jimmy Butler to where you want him to be. It's kind of like what LeBron's doing. LeBron wants high-level role players around him so that he doesn't have to carry this team at his age.
But can I ask you a question, though? The difference is Jimmy Butler's supposed to be in his prime. Like, I love Jimmy Butler. I said he was a top 5 player in the league going into this season because I value the playoffs. Everybody killed me for that, but I value the playoffs and the way he turns up.
You're right.
But, like, if you have to, like, find a way to carry your star to the playoffs, like, it's supposed to be the other way around. Like, he's not – what serious injuries has Jimmy Butler had? He's never been out for a season for something. Like,
no, you're right.
What's going on with
it? The way that they see it, you know, something that I heard from like a good Heat reporter is pretty much that he can't play and give us 30 a game for about 70 games because his body's going to break down. That's pretty much what they said.
How about 24, 25 points though, and play 68 games?
but that's where we cook him, because that's when his laziness comes in. We're giving him $50 million to coast through the regular season, and he's supposed to be our best player. That's the part that I don't understand about the front office. And if you're going to allow him to do that, which I don't understand why you would, why are we putting undrafted guys on this roster to fill up the roster?
Yeah. Also, I also want to say something real quick, though, because we know that Jimmy Butler, could be the best player on a championship team. It might not be this Miami Heat team.
You think so?
No, because his bag is not deep enough for that, though.
No,
see, that's kind of what
deep enough for that. No.
Yes, Dart, you just said we don't even have a big three. It's because
Jimmy Butler's bag is not deep enough for that.
In the finals last year, Bam showed up and averaged 20 points like we've been asking him to, and then Jimmy wasn't good. I know he was hurt, though. That's what people are going to say. So I guess give him another chance. But what Martell is saying is somewhat true. Like, it's maybe you can't get see, the thing is, you got a top 3 seed with Jimmy 1 year. You did, and you were this close. Like,
but he didn't play that much, though. He didn't play. Hey, listen, him and Bam were out majority of the season. And man, bro, Heat fans, they think that you could just sprinkle this Heat culture dust over the roster, and then all of a sudden now everyone's going to be averaging 20 points a game. It doesn't always work like that, especially in an Eastern Conference where everybody got better. Don't get me wrong. I still think that the Miami Heat could beat the Knicks and the Bucks in the playoffs, but it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed, and I don't understand why Heat fans think it's like a guarantee.
The only way we beat the Bucks is because it sounds messed up, but Dame's going through some family stuff. So
no, Dame is terrible on defense.
Hold up, Martell.
He'll cook Dame too.
Hold up, Martell. Hold up. We get that. We get that part. All I'm saying is the only way is Doc Rivers being the head coach, so we got lucky there. And Dame's defense, obviously, but also he's going through some stuff, and he hasn't been playing his best basketball. That's the two. But enough of this Miami Heat stuff talk. I need to talk to Clippers fan real quick. Dime dropper real quick, right? So when I'm watching this Clippers team, I think there's all big questions, right? And this can be our final thing, talk about the Heat and Clippers and stuff like that. Our main goal as Heat fans, we want to win a championship. And is your main goal, especially with the new stadium coming up and stuff like that, especially with, we're talking about big 3, big 2, whatever. The Clippers haven't done shit. They haven't done shit with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard ever since they got him, right? Miami, on the other hand, we're going, but we're not winning, right? So with this Clippers team, there's always going to be questions, and you said it before. James Harden, which I don't like, which I don't know why, but okay. And then Russell Westbrook. Those are my 2 questions heading into the playoffs, right? The reason why I say Russell Westbrook, and this is a question and kind of a statement at the same time, but I want your opinion. Russell Westbrook in spurts can look very, very good. But then in spurts, he can look like he did today. Those in playoff games can kill momentum and really bring you down in 6 points heading into the fourth quarter, right? And then with James Harden, which we've seen this season, so like this season has been playing definitely good for us, or not us, but for the Clippers and stuff like that. But there's games where he's going 1 for 10. He's scoring 2 points with 7 assists, but his plus minus is horrible and he's just not playing that good. And Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are stepping up. Are you confident in your roster, or are you still questioning that, what you have seen so far in this season? Because those 2 players can really turn a lot of stuff around. And if Paul George is not healthy, which I don't think he's healthy, I think the last time that we seen Paul George really, really healthy was against the OKC game where he took over. He took over that OKC game. I believe he had like 38 points.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, after that, that injury has been kicking. He has been playing. That's the difference. He has been playing. Just hasn't been the same. And you could tell his shot's a little bit off. He's a little rusty. But do you have confidence in Russ and Harden heading into this postseason? And even Paul George, because I'm a Russ fan. OKC days, you know how bad that was? PG against Utah? PG against Utah? So, like, what's your confidence level, even though the Clippers are playing their best basketball in a while?
Very low. Very low because of all the things you just said. Paul George, I'm a little bit higher on in the playoffs because 2021, we had our best finish ever. Like, he made history. He broke that second round curse. It felt like we would never make it out of the second round, like legit. And he went off without Kawhi against Utah. And it kind of conquered those 2018 Utah Demons. I thought that was pretty special that he was able to do that. Westbrook, I was really skeptical on him going into the playoffs last year, but he was big time. Like, when he plays against KD, he takes it to a whole nother level. And I think the stuff you said earlier about Ty Lue knowing when to go away from Russ and Russ being okay with it, that's why I was starting to be okay with Russ, because you are right. He has these costly errors. and decisions in big moments that, it might look like just one turnover on the stat sheet, but it was a colossal turnover that completely changes momentum, whatever. So that kind of stuff, I think, was going to be limited by Ty Lue knowing when to go away from him, and that, like, you're not guaranteed to close every game anymore. Harden,
He can't choke.
in the first round, I'm not scared at all. Harden in the first round is fine. But ever since he left Houston, second round and further, he's going up against better defenses, teams that have more switch everything personnel, like you guys in 2022. He's not the quickest like he used to be. So he's not fully getting by everybody anymore. And when that step back three is not falling and refs aren't giving him calls and his defense gets lower, then he's like, he kills, like he's going to really hurt because then he's just going to take the ball away from other guys and just, when it's humming with James Harden and he's creating good looks for everybody and all that, he looks like an offensive machine. But no, that's the reason why I was very skeptical on Harden. It's not like I didn't think he'd make us better in the regular season, but I've said many times before he came to the Clippers, I just don't think Harden's ever going to win a championship, like ever. I just don't think he's built for it, which is exactly why the Heat didn't make a move for him, which might have been a mistake if you look at it the way he's looking now, because all the stuff you guys are talking about, a guy that can carry when Jimmy's out. This is James Harden. Like, this is what you could have guaranteed 40 wins minimum, bare minimum, just by having him on the team. I still think he's capable of that. I really do. But yeah, I have no confidence. But I will say this. There is one thing that makes me more confident that we can win. Kawhi. He's the only reason we got a chance because he's been there, done that, and his game translates. Like, besides the bubble, he always improves in the playoffs every year. So, I'm not confident, bro, at all.
We could talk about the Heat if Amir. This is for questions for me and us three right here for the Heat fans. But who I've been noticing, who I feel like, I don't know if you trust him, but Norman Powell. I feel like he steps up all the time. Like, he has his moments where, he's not hitting his shot, but he's consistent. He's a consistent bucket every single time. Do not leave him in the corner for three because it's going in every single time. And I do want to say, to the point of Russ versus KD, the reason why Russ played this game, and I love Russell Westbrook, he's my favorite point guard, I defend him every single time. But the truth of the matter of that game is their star players were out. So Russ had nothing to lose for. He had nothing. There was nothing to lose. We already knew that series was going to go over with. Even though if the Clippers were healthy, they were fucking the Suns up easily, for a fact. But he just was like, you know what? I still got it. And he was the number one guy. It was Russ and Norman Powell versus KD and these other guys, Yeah. So
the only thing I'll say is those first two games before Kawhi got hurt, like, I know that first game Russ went 3 for 19, but the way he was clamping down at the end and getting offensive rebounds and he hit those big free throws. So, like, the fact that he went 3 for 19 and he still did all that and got us a win in Phoenix, like, that could have been the decider of us winning like series in 6 or whatever. So I always hear that, especially from the people that don't like Russ. They'll be like, he only performed well because he was the number one option. But I was also including those first two games. There was one other thing I was going to say, but it totally slipped my mind. So
Miami, listen.
Oh, Norman Powell. Dude.
Yeah.
Norman Powell, he should be very much considered for sixth man of the year. Last year, he was the leading scorer in the NBA off the bench, and then he had a shoulder injury before the playoffs. But, dude, this guy is consistent at what he does. He just comes in and scores. Like, and very efficient on from the three and the field. He's a foul baiter extraordinaire, and he somehow gets him, Harden, and Reeves. They get the best whistle of any of the players in the city. I mean, AD, LeBron, Russ, Kawhi, Paul, they get terrible whistle compared to those guys. Those three, for whatever reason, they get every call. Norm gets a lot of calls, and he's the perfect sixth man. And I'm very happy he's embraced that because he should be looked at for sixth man of the year, seriously. But here's the thing about the Clippers. We have two guys you can look at for sixth man of the year, which is very unique.
Russ.
So, yeah.
So, Amir, I have a question, right? And Martel, too. So, and this is it goes back to the sense of this. We can wrap it up here. This always goes back to roster construction, right? And I know the Clippers a lot. So, dime drop, I'm pretty sure you know. Remember the time where Kobe Bryant was in the rotation and PJ Tucker was in the rotation, right? Ty Lue noticed, and this is going to go back into Spo real quick, but Ty Lue noticed, this rotation's not cutting it. PJ Tucker's too old. We're not going to play him no more. Kobe Bryant isn't ready yet. So you know what they did? Mayor Coffey, he stepped up when Paul George was out, and then they put him in the rotation. It has been different since. Going to the Miami Heat sense, Amir and Martel, when we have players playing bad coming off our bench or players playing bad in the starting lineup, I just don't see that and I think it's going to construction, roster construction, or do y'all think Spo just wants to keep staying with these players? One player he doesn't stay with is obviously freaking Jovic. I think he has something against him, but a lot of these other players on our team, he continues to keep rolling with. So why is that the case? And I know we're just comparing coaches and stuff like that, but these are the top two coaches. Like let's be fair. Ty Lue's a good coach. Spo's one of the best coaches. So is it construction wise, or just Spo just like keep giving them opportunities, or the team just isn't good enough? Like, what do y'all think it is? Because I watch the Clippers and I watch Miami, and I'm like, you can just see the difference.
Yeah.
Kobe wasn't fitting. Get him out. Bring Coffee in. There's players on this team that shouldn't be playing or getting more minutes or getting less minutes, and they're still getting, it just doesn't make sense to me,
Yeah, well, one, we were one of the most, not to use an excuse right now because the team just is sucking balls right now. So,
Yeah.
But for the beginning of the season and last year specifically, we were the third most injured team in basketball, right? So that was difficult. And we played the most clutch games, and, we lost a good amount of those games that we should have won, right? Against the Spurs and like crappy teams. I can't think of the worst teams last year, but like the Spurs and the Hornets, and those teams beat us. And so this year we were dealing with that as well. What was the stat that we would always say in the first 3 episodes? How many different starting lineups do we have?
Yeah, it's like
we're not number 1 anymore, but we're top 5 in different starting lineups because we have so many people in and out of the alignment. So Spo has to tinker, and he put Jovic in because I think Ernest, who's not here, he's also part of the roundtable, mentioned he was probably playing Jovic and starting him 10 games in a row because of injuries, but also because of before the trade deadline. He wanted to show like, hey, this guy is an asset. He's a valuable, first round pick, essentially, right? Equivalent to a first round pick. And so he did tinker with that, but he's out of the rotation because of defense. So I think the biggest thing with Spo is he's forced to play different players and change the rotation because of injuries. But also, like, if a player's not cutting it defensively first, he knows people go on streaks like Jay Rich can be hot one night, score 24 points, help us beat the Kings, and then have a shitty night the next night against the Wizards, and then tonight had like 14 points. He's a role player. He's going to be up and down. So I think the biggest thing with Spo is like, if you're not playing good defensively, you're not going to be in my rotation. I think that's like
That's one thing I like about him, though. He's a defensive mind. I was going to say, yeah, dude, I think the Clippers roster is just so much better. Even with the stars, dude, Amir Coffey would be starting for the Heat. Like, I'm dead serious. I think he'd start.
There you go.
He's good.
Amir Coffey's good.
He's just like Terrence, man. And funny you mentioned Brandon Boston. Dude, Brandon Boston's gotten like no playing time this year. Like none. Like barely any. The other day he got some burn against the Wizards, but I think he could get backup minutes with the Heat. I straight up do.
Hey, what about this dude real quick? Let me ask. I made a video like a few days ago about Bones Highland because he's getting shopped around. He's not playing. Could we use him from what you saw? We have no real point guard. Like, we have Terry Rozier now, and he's not a real point guard. He's a combo guard. Like, can he be our backup point guard and give us like 10, 12 points off the bench?
That's what you need? That's what you need?
He can.
Do we not need that? Do you see how she?
We need a 4 first.
I agree. Hold
on.
That well, we need a lot, Marta.
Because we have enough wings, bro. We have enough wings to get it done to where we don't necessarily need Bones. I think Bones, listen, he's a solid player. I just think right now it comes down to fit. We have a bunch of guys that don't fit. Think about it. Haywood Heisman, he would be a 15th man on any roster right now, like in the NBA. That alone should say enough. Think about half of our roster, Spo doesn't play. One, because they're either terrible or they can't play defense. Jovic, he's not ready. Thomas Bryant, what does he really do like when he gets out there? He's trash. So half the roster's trash. And even with Caleb Martin and Josh Richardson, they can't shoot efficiently enough consistently to even be on the floor like that. So outside of Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, and then to put all that pressure on Jaime Jaquez Jr., like, that's not realistic. Half of the roster is not even playable. Think about that. More than half of the roster is not playable.
Amir, I have something for you because about the Bones Highland situation.
So
Bones, man, let's put some respect on Bones Highland real quick. All right, that's a dog right there. He easily can give you 50 a night if he wanted to. He'll give up 50, but he'll give you 50. Okay?
50, I think said 15 at first.
No. 50. He's a hooper. Like, if you watch Bones play, he's a hooper. He just can't crack a rotation. If you notice, he's been on the best teams, Denver and Clippers. There's a reason why he keeps cracking out the rotation, because he can't play defense, and when his game is not on, what are you doing on the court? It's useless. But for the Miami Heat says, We need that. I know he don't play defense, but we need scoring. We suck at off. We all know we can't score. Bones will come in the game and give you 10 points in 5 minutes. I swear he will.
No,
He will.
Yeah, but if your best
honestly,
players are terrible, then how? You know what I mean? Like if your best players can't score, Bones can do all that dribbling and shooting. But if your best players struggle to score, if Tyler Hero is 5 for 15, if Bam, can't hit a mid-range shot, Jimmy Butler doesn't care sometimes. We go as far as Jimmy Butler goes.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
you're right about that.
We all know that.
We
though,
go
and
as
we're-
far
Bones-
as Jimmy Butler. Trust me, man.
yeah, we
Jimmy
all know
Butler
that.
is better than Jason Tatum still.
Is he?
Yeah,
he's not making his case. He's
Yeah,
not helping
playoff-
his case
playoff-
this year.
playoff Jimmy. Well, if Tatum wins a champion, I know he's way younger, so I never give him. You always give me shit for not giving him credit for like what he's done at this age, and he still has a lot of opportunity, and he's in his ultimate prime. Jimmy's in the twilight of his prime, but I don't trust that fool. That guy.
I don't-
that
I
guy
don't trust-
has
I would-
clutch in the playoffs yet.
I don't
So-
trust him either. But Bones Highland, he's good, man. I mean, before the season started, they were like, before we got Harden, he looked like he was the backup point guard. Kawhi likes him a lot, which is very interesting. Bones was definitely stepping up on defense, man. He has really good hands and he has long arms. So like he has some potential defensively. He's just very skinny. But he looked like he was improving on that end. Like he would have been passable. Like not much worse than some of the guys you play personally. But
No, but you're
seriously.
right.
But I'm
No,
serious.
but he's right.
But-
He's right
and he's
because
a-
he's
he's
a
a
high
very-
level role player that we
Pathetic.
need.
It's pathetic.
He's a high level role player.
He's a really underrated passer. He just hasn't had an opportunity to really show it, but he is. He's a good player. I feel so sorry for him that this has happened. And when he's playing, man, he is a good energy guy to just have around. I mean, the fact that he's been very professional through all this when he's been taken out of the rotation with the Harden trade has been great. But he's starting to look like he's a little annoyed. Like he just wants to play. It's the second time, as you mentioned, that it's happened. So
Yeah,
I
but
hope he gets something. If it's not here, I hope he gets an opportunity somewhere.
I honestly don't want him getting traded. I want him on the Clippers because like.
To win.
No. Listen, I just like Bones so much. I really do. I just like him as a person. Like I think he's just dope. Like when he comes into the game, it's like street ball. Like you play 1-on-1 at the LA Fitness. That's who he plays like. He's just one of those dudes. But anyways, I have one more question. I feel like this episode been super, super long, about to hit an hour. The Clippers, do they need to make any moves? Or are you keeping the same team?
Don't need to make any moves, but if we can get one more four, like it's just a big forward because we lost Rocco and Nicholas Batum, that'd be great. Honestly, though, maybe not.
Miami Heat. Do we need to make a move, Amir? Tell
Yes.
me, Amir.
Well, because we're talking to Dime Dropper, and he's obviously the Clipper fan here, we trade you Haywood Highsmith for Bones Highland. You heard it here first. The contract.
Both teams would accept. That's the crazy part. Both teams would accept.
He's a power forward, even though he's 6'5", 210 pounds. Like that's our power forwards right there. Caleb Martin 6'5", Haywood Highwood 6'5". Like we have Kevin Love off the bench, who's technically backing up Bam right now. So yeah, we need size too, man. And Trent, we better make a goddamn move. And we're doing it. We're doing an episode on Thursday for sure.
Yes.
But we need a real move. Sorry, I'm just joking around Bones. I would still take him though.
Amir, let's not do that trade. Let's not do that trade because then you're just gonna make the Clippers better defensively. Let's just not do that trade. You put Haywood Highsmith and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the court together. Let's not do that.
Sounds great.
Yeah, he locked up Paul George like a little bit today. You know, he made his shots difficult, and I mean, Paul hit some open threes here and there, but like he was doing pretty good defensively on Paul George, and he looks way shorter. Like, because you forget Paul George is 6'10", right? Like, and he doesn't look like a big ass dude, but like next to Haywood, dude, I'm like, I thought Haywood was Terry Rozier guarding Paul George, and I'm like, damn, Terry got some fucking good hand in his face, like contested. I'm like, oh shit, that's Haywood. Never mind. Like Paul George is huge, so. Yep. I don't know. Trent, who do you think? Last minute here. What do you think we're gonna do? We got how many days left? 3 days?
Well,
4 days?
Today's
days?
yeah. Well, it's gonna be Monday soon, so
3
yeah,
days.
a couple days. I think Miami stands still, unfortunately. But I will say, did y'all see when James Harden? This is kind of going to the trade stuff. Did y'all see James Harden hit the 3-point play in Jimmy Butler's face, and then the next possession hit the 3-point player in Terry Rozier, and then they got the 4-point play, and then they turned the camera straight to Pat Riley, and he's just like,
Fuck.
Like he's just like fuck. But Pat Riley, Mickey, show me son. You already showed us like you can't be confident enough of you being there every single game and telling me, oh, this offense is fine enough to us win a championship. Because it's not.
No.
And we're talking about Bones Highland to give us some offense. Like, let's be for real. I love you, Bones, but come on.
Yeah, but also let's end this with the fuck James Harden, because here's some two Rileyisms we can end this shit with. Rebounds win you rings. We always know that. We need help with that.
No,
but also,
yeah.
he also says playoffs will tell, and James Harden doesn't tell you shit in the playoffs. All he does is choke like B Rabbit in 8 Mile. He's the biggest choke artist. He goes to the strip club. He doesn't show up in the second round, to Darian's point. He shoots fucking 20% in games, field goal percentage. Just no shows. The most single-digit games for a superstar like in NBA history. I'm not making that up right now. I am making that up partially, but like no other superstar has had more single-digit games or shooting under 30% than I think James Harden. I don't know. I'm not trying to be facetious right now, Dime, or bullshitting. That's the issue. So fuck James Harden, and we're done. Thank you so much for joining. The Miami Heat better beat the Magic and the Spurs, otherwise it's over.
I love you, Russell Westbrook. I love you. Keep smiling. Keep being great.
How do you feel about
25,000 points at that. Put some respect on his name.
What about Tyler?
Tyler?
Yeah.
I love
Who?
you. Listen, YouTube limit our video for me swearing, so I'm going to say I love you, Tyler.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.